Good evening and welcome to the November 12th school committee meeting. I wanted to just give a quick chairperson's update and just say, as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, on behalf of our school committee, I wanted to say thank you to our Grafton community and for all of their continued support of our schools. We're very fortunate to have such an engaged community, both inside the schools and out, and we are so thankful to all of you. So I want to say thank you and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And with that, I will open it up to, I'm going to make a quick update to our agenda. We have a last minute field trip proposal that we'll hear about shortly. And we also need to vote on a representative for our collaborative. So that is added to our agenda tonight. And now I'll take any comments from the public. Anybody? You in the back? All right, hearing none, I'm going to pass it over to Tracy for an educational report.
Great, thanks, Laura. So I wanted to give a quick update on the Seal by Literacy. I think I mentioned it during our first school committee meeting. We have 11 students who are pursuing the Seal, and I want to say thank you to Kristen Germain for doing the organizing around that effort. And I will continue to keep you posted as they progress toward taking those tests and hopefully achieve master. In addition to that, Alicia Wheeler, who is a science teacher at Grafton High School, is bringing 18 females to the Girls STEM Summit in April. The day was designed for young women who love science, math, and technology and engineering, and they'll be attending that at Wentworth. Recently, we've had some trauma-informed instruction PD during our last early release day. It was an outstanding experience that was really orchestrated by Roseanne Kropowska and Carlette Koza. And basically, it was tips for educators in working with students who have recently experienced trauma or experiencing trauma right now in their lives. And it was really was a nice bridge based on our SEL work because it was about relationship building strategies. In addition to that, I wanted to let you know that during my last update, we talked about the district moving towards a math online assessment tool. I was able to convene a committee, believe it or not, of 17 teachers, ranging from grades K through 12, who are interested in doing some research and piloting tools to see which would be best fit for the district. And with that, that's my update.
Tracy, do you know when that's going to be decided with the pilot?
So I am researching 4 tools right now. I've got emails in my inbox right now from the reps. I'm going to take a look at our first meeting. We basically looked at what's the purpose of the tool, what do we want that tool to do, and we turned that into selection criteria. So when I speak with the reps, I'm going to make sure that each tool meets our selection criteria. I'll bring that back during our second meeting. We'll pick 2, and then I'll push it out for a pilot. So I'll keep you posted.
Any other questions for Tracy?
I'm interested to hear what happens.
Yeah, same. Great. And next up, I'd like to invite our Grafton Middle School Vice Principal Tim Fouth up to talk about a new field trip. Hello, Mr. Fouth. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about the potential of a field trip that almost out of the miraculous skies above kind of fell into our lap and is a really cool opportunity for some of our youngsters at the middle school. So I'm just going to read the letter that I submitted to Jay and that everybody has in front of them just to give a bit of a background of what the trip entails and also how the trip came to our attention. And then, well, this is my first time presenting on a field trip, so I'll lean on you guys and happily answer any questions that you have throughout that process. But throughout a partnership and friendship with Mr. Aaron Polanski, who conveniently spoke at our middle school today and wowed our student body and staff in a 65, 70-minute presentation. He also is the superintendent of Old Colony Regional Vocational Technical High School. A wonderful opportunity has been provided to Grafton Middle School. Due to a last-minute cancellation, GMS is being offered 15 student spots and 3 chaperone spots of full tuition to attend the 2019 Bolt Leadership Program on the wonderful Disney campus at the Swan Resort from December 12th through the 15th. This opportunity arose during a November 5th phone call between myself and Aaron Polanski. I think, to give you credit, Laura, facilitated probably through you and by you, so I thank you for that. And he wanted to introduce the idea to me, knowing and respecting that it was pretty last minute, but wanted to see if GMS could kind of pull this off and see if we can make it work. Through Aaron's previous speaking engagements with Pegasus Tours and the Bolt Leadership Program, Pegasus Tours is the company that puts on the trip, he was made aware of this opportunity and instantly reached out to me to see if GMS would be interested. Without getting too entrenched in the details, I told him we'd do everything we could to make the trip happen, as it seemed like it was too good to be true. Throughout the days following that phone call, I connected with Craig Martin and Stephen McDonald of Pegasus Springs Education Collective, which is the group running the trip. And the following details are spelled out in the rest of the letter that I submitted for you guys today. But in a nutshell, the December 12th through 15th trip for the Bold Leadership Program, defining the full tuition aspect of it would be a 4-day park hopper pass around Disney. It would be free admission into the leadership program for the students. It would also be free admission to the other educational engagements that are there, that are provided for the chaperones and the adults that are going. Breakfast and lunch each day of the program, a welcome pre-event dinner the evening of when we arrive. Participation in the Disney Youth Education Series program. Hotel rooms for the 3 nights, hotel rooms for the adult chaperones, transportation from Orlando Airport to the Disney Resort and anywhere around the Disney Resort. The only thing that families would have to provide would be airfare. They'd arrange for their own transportation to get to Logan or Worcester or wherever the flights are going to be booked out of. So the only things that families need to pay for are airfare and 2 dinners. The approximate cost is around $500 per family. That's I kind of use that tone because flights change a little bit. Checking out flights tonight, almost a half hour before I came here, there were flights that range from $150 to about $325, depending on whether you're leaving for Logan or Worcester. But this is an unbelievable opportunity, I think, for some of our students to take advantage of this conference and this trip. So I'm excited to answer any questions that you guys have. Again, my first time kind of going through it, so I'll answer your questions. I'll learn from you guys. I'll do the best I can to spell it all out so that we can get some thumbs up.
You didn't bring like a 50-page PowerPoint for us? That's
You know what? I trimmed it down to 42, but I thought it was just going to take up unnecessary space.
Well, does anybody have any questions?
No, I just have a question, how you choose the people.
Yeah, so I vetted it with Roseanne, our principal. Because the nature of the conference is a youth leadership conference, we have 3 current groups at our school that tap into leadership responsibilities and potential. That is our student council, that is our peer leader group, and we just had a group of students who were nominated for Project 351. So looking at those 3 cohorts, we were going to open it up to them and then let the lottery process kind of see where it goes. Knowing there's going to be a quick turnaround on it. Hopefully more than 15 families and students are interested, and if we do the lottery process, then that's what we do. If we luckily and miraculously draw 15 or end on 15, then great. But we want to provide the opportunities to those students. That's around 50 students. So that's where we wanted to start with. I'm sorry?
Is that 8th and 7th grade, or?
It's primarily 8th. But peer leaders is a group that is open to 7th and 8th, but most of the students who have attended the meeting so far, and there's been 4 meetings to date, have been 8th grade students. Yes, Melissa.
I would like to know a little bit more about what it actually is and what is the Pegasus Springs Education Collective. Is it a nonprofit? Is it a for-profit? If it's a for-profit, is there anything that we wouldn't want our kids, pros and cons? I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
And whenever anybody says
Yep.
something's too good to be true, my first thought is that it is
Yeah,
too good to
yeah,
be true
it's a
and
fair
that
point.
there's some strings
Yeah.
attached.
That's a great question. I'm going to assume, although I can't factually tell you that I know for definite it's a nonprofit or a for-profit. I'm assuming it's a nonprofit because they have run trips like this. Aaron Polanski's group of students has gone down the past couple of years, so I'm assuming it's a nonprofit group. But they organize and then orchestrate all the events, the curriculum and the events for the students down there. So I don't know the fact on that one, whether it's non versus for-profit, but I'm assuming it's a nonprofit group. They are based out of Wakefield, I think they are. So they're a local group. They're about 15 to 20 years, as best as I could find on Google, in terms of being in existence. The 2 reps that I've dealt with over the past couple of days have been very quick to get back to me to answer all my questions, to prepare as best as I could for you guys here. But that's a good question. I can probably look it up on my phone in a second and
Well,
let
it
you
says
know.
there, the conference, which is like a retreat, teaching with the brain in mind, the art and science of igniting learning in all students.
And so that is for the adults and the chaperones that are going. And then the Bolt Leadership Conference is the 3-day event for the students.
It is a nonprofit.
Thank you.
I just Googled.
Yeah.
More from like
My assumptions ended up being accurate.
And
What
what's-
kind,
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, what kinds of activities, because when I was doing a little research, I found a lot about the teaching with the brain in mind, but what do the kids actually do? What are their activities for those days?
So I can tell you the agenda. I can't tell you all the intricate details of what they do, but I can tell the agenda and then also the philosophy behind it. So ultimately, the main mission is to captivate and cultivate leadership skills within our youth, so they can bring those leadership potentials back to each particular school and use them in whatever capacities they see fit. Usually schools are reaching and begging and artificially trying to make leadership opportunities for youngsters happen. And this is one that will unite a lot of individuals, like-minded middle schoolers and high schoolers from around the country. So there's going to be that powerful peer aspect that's tied to it. But from the agenda that Pegasus Springs gave me, they are basically in the conference room doing all sorts of activities, leadership activities, team building activities, and then ultimately more focused activities towards Saturday and Sunday from 8 until 3 p.m. At that time, simultaneously, the chaperones can, if they choose to, they can participate in igniting learning, the brain-based activity stuff. So the chaperones that will be accompanying are not in charge, so to speak, of the students, because they'll be in they'll be participating in the leadership program from 8 till 3. Within that time frame of 8 to 3, it is team building, it is setting goals, team building, setting goals, bringing goals back to a school-based community. Those are generic titles that they gave to some of the activities that they're going to be doing in these conferences. And then from 3 until, roughly lights out is when the chaperones take over. That's the fun time at Disney, so to speak. They got the hopper passes, and you do Disney, so to speak. So the particulars I don't necessarily know of in terms of like what they're doing from 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11, and then that's all shared within the orientation aspect of Thursday night when ultimately the students get down there. In theory, students and chaperones would get down there Thursday night, be introduced to the orientation program, which is about a 2-hour orientational program, and then there's fireworks and Epcot fun stuff at about 9 o'clock, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is when they really rock and roll. And then they have a closing ceremony around 2 or 3 p.m. on Sunday, and then flights home, back to school on Monday.
And are you thinking that the chaperones will be teachers from GMS, or are you looking for parents, or a combination?
Yeah, so a combination. We thought the most equitable way to do it was to have a lottery of teachers and a lottery of parents or chaperones. So one teacher, one chaperone. I'll go as well. So we'll see where that goes.
And then, sorry, are you allowed to see, so I know there's a grown-up portion of it. I'm curious about how much you'll be tuned into what the kids are doing, only because if it is about bringing leadership back to
Yep.
the school, that's something that you
Yeah.
could probably facilitate once you're
So
back.
the adults don't necessarily participate in all the activities, but we can participate as the fly on the wall, so to speak, and sit back and enjoy and see what the kids are doing. We can do that. But the Bolt Leadership Program at Disney runs the show. So our role, if I were to be there, would not necessarily to be in the trenches with with the students. It would be, sitting back and learning and observing what they're doing and how Bolt runs their program and learning really from that experience. And there could be like an easy back and forth too. Like one day we can go to the brain-based stuff on Thursday, and then the next day we hang out with the students in the Bolt conference room. So it's pretty fluid.
But do you see it as an opportunity for the kids to actually have things going on when they get back to the school?
Yes,
the purpose.
yeah, that's ultimately the goal. And speaking with Aaron, who's the only one that I know whose students have gone to this program, within the week that they came back there, they instituted like 2 programs within their school-based community. Wherever it went is where it went. But within the week, they were so engaged and so fired up, for lack of a better word, that they wanted to bring their ideas back, and the school made it work.
Any other questions?
Amy?
I just had a quick one. Under letter B, it says that flights need to be paid for and arranged by the attending student and family. How is that going to work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Craig at Pegasus Springs says that the best case scenario is that once you get your pool of candidates, if you will, right? Let's fast forward a week and say we have our 15 and 3, that there are flights so that everybody can get on the same flight. That's the most perfect case scenario, so that everybody would book on that particular flight. Because of the timing of it, that may not be the reality. So the Pegasus advises that each group is cut up into 5. So that's one chaperone per 5 kids, another chaperone per 5 students, and so on. That those 5 plus a chaperone would be on the same flight. And then once they arrive in Orlando Airport, then Pegasus Springs takes over and just arranges for transportation and drop off at the airport. And then there'd be an ultimate central rendezvous point in time where everybody would link up. Hopefully the flights are within an hour or 2 or something like that of each other.
That sounds a lot less scary.
You're welcome.
I was envisioning like mass chaos as people try to book flights and kids on
Yeah.
planes alone, and
Yeah.
that would concern.
Once we get our group of 15 and 3, my goal is to have a parent meeting and a chaperone meeting and a student meeting right away, so that we can all be on the same page with how to orchestrate the best plan moving forward.
Awesome.
So one last question. When it says full scholarship program, that means everything but the flights.
Correct. And 2
So-
dinners.
Sorry?
And 2 dinners.
What, can't forget the dinners.
Correct.
What is the plan for making sure that kids for whom $500 is a lot of money
Yeah.
even apply?
Yeah. So we put in, and vetting this with Dr. Cummings as well, he said there would be some financial assistance available should the need arise. We have a really healthy and viable Washington, D.C. committee and trip already kind of going on. And mind you that this is kind of last minute, so to speak, but we have no problems reaching out to some of the partners that we've already had established a connection with in terms of DC to maybe ask for some scholarship help, or even asking Dr. Cummings for some scholarship help as well.
Yeah, I guess I just worry that for some families, a quick ability to pay for $500 worth of flight might discourage some kids from even thinking that they would be interested.
Correct. Roseanne shared with me a pretty generic kind of interest form where it says if a student is interested and they are in need of financial assistance, to just reach out to one of us at the middle school, and we're happy to steer that in a better direction. Because that would be the worst to.
Yeah, to say, here's this wonderful
Exactly.
opportunity for leadership. But
Yeah,
only
we
if you love
want
money.
we want to be able to afford it for all.
Yeah,
Because that's the
great.
goal. Yeah. And ultimately, if you add up everything without full tuition, it's a significantly pricey trip.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So to have it for, roughly $400 or less is a fantastic opportunity. So thank you, Dr. Cummings, for being open to some potential scholarship help.
Great. Any other questions? Well, I think it sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I got to speak with Mr. Polanski last week with Amy, and he was so excited to tell us about this opportunity. And I know you shared with me that he couldn't think of a better school to have it go out with, and it's nice for our middle school kids to get to have a little bit of extra leadership. They don't often get that opportunity. So we'll need to take a vote. So I'll need a motion.
To help your vote along a little bit, if it matters, I've never been to Disney.
H.
Wait,
Can't be about you, Mr.
I
Fox.
just- But I have been to Disney in Japan.
Are you
There's
gonna
the
wear
little
your
known
gloves?
fact
Don't you
of,
have like a Mickey Mouse
I
outfit?
do. I have a whole
Had
outfit.
it on last week. I saw
Yeah.
I know, I did.
Right?
I did.
So you always dress up, but you never get to go?
That's true. That's
Oh.
true. Bridesmaid, never to bride, right?
I mean, as somebody who loves costumes.
You convinced me right there. That's it.
I mean, I have an Elsa dress. I could be a chaperone.
As I'm a middle school administrator, I'm comfortable in any outfit, so.
Connection. Okay. Bearing that in mind, no, bearing all the information in mind, I need a vote.
I make a motion to pass the boat leadership program Disney trip for GMS.
I second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Good luck. Well
Thank you
done.
very much.
Next
Appreciate it.
time,
Enjoy.
actually, I would have worn the costume to present. I mean, next time you come. I'm just kidding.
When you come back to tell us about it.
Yeah, when you guys come back,
Your
yeah.
report, which
There
we
you go, I'll dress
expect.
up when I come
Yeah,
back.
which I would
That's for
like.
definite.
We'll connect and maybe in early January, we can get you guys back to hear from the kids. That would be great.
In costume.
Costume
you.
optional.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Tim. Okay, that was nice. And I would like to get the kids here. I was thinking today we need some kids. And I meant to tell you that. Capital needs. What do we got?
And nothing
I skipped something?
new, really. On pages 5 through 7 of your school committee book. The last two meetings, as you know, we reviewed our developing capital project list. We submitted the entire plan to the town administrator last week. Back on Thursday, I think it was. Our list includes 43 items ranging in cost from $12,000 to $1.2 million. That's for the heating and ventilation at the middle school. The full plan, which is in the shared drive folder and available online, details each of the projects. So that's the full plan, or the full list, if you will. The total for everything is just over $9 million. We received about $270,000 last year in terms of capital funding, so we'll have to make some, assuming that the number's the same, obviously we've got a lot of projects and we'll have to make some really wise decisions in terms of stretching whatever we do receive as far as possible. So we simply wanted to let you know that we finalized it and submitted.
Jay,
Yes.
I'm sorry, did somebody have a question before I go?
Well, I was just
Jen.
going to ask, like, when you're talking about when I'm looking at the priority of it,
Yep.
was it based partially on money too, or was it based on really priority?
That's a tough question. Money certainly plays a role, I mean, a huge role.
Right.
If we had the money tomorrow, I would like to push forward the heating and ventilation at the middle school, for example.
Right,
If
yeah,
we had-
yeah, that's why I was
if
wondering,
we
because it
had
was further down.
250 to 300,000, we'd probably knock off a bunch of the long-standing projects. We've got a lot of original carpet in very old schools that need to come up. We've got to do that tiling. The tech classroom, we've started making some nice movement on that this year, but we simply don't have the funds to finish it, so that would help greatly. I won't read through the list, but most of the things are based on need, but combined with cost.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the first item, and is that to address an issue that came up once you redid the drop-off plan?
Nope, from day one, once we, as you know, this summer, last spring, we looked at running the buses around the back. When we just walked it the very first time, there's a corner, right when you go past like that stadium, past the football stadium where they do the PA announcements, I don't know, press box, I think we call it. Once you go past that and around that corner, that corner is just too tight right now. We took out the mound, it's flat, it's just gonna be frozen dirt for the rest of the year, and it's probably gonna be fine. Ideally, we would add some concrete and round that corner. That's really what that is all about. We'll make it work. It's not a safety hazard, but it's gonna be a challenge with the snow and mud, and that corner is gonna be a problem, but that's what that is.
Okay.
We didn't want to do it well, we always wanted to do it. We didn't do it last summer because we wanted to actually try it. Because it could have been something that we did for 2 weeks and realized nothing worked, and we went back to the old system. And we would, obviously, I don't want to invest in it and then go back. So we're all in, but we need money to round that corner.
And that doesn't include removal of islands or any of the other things that were in that report, correct? Okay.
Yep.
All those would be nice. They're not on the capital list.
Correct.
All right.
So your question was kind of on my question. When is it going to get to the point where we need to really make a recommendation that we're going to need to replace the heating? And we're gonna have to ask the town for either a bond or
A great question. Short of failure of the system, I don't have a real answer. Logically, we should have done that probably years ago.
yeah, okay.
I hate to say it, but in reality, when the system goes down for 3 weeks and we can't use
The school.
a third of the school, that usually prompts action. We haven't reached that point yet. We've had a few days, but we haven't strung together, weeks, or we've got to shut down or anything yet.
It's coming.
Oh, it's definitely coming. I mean,
Right.
these are the
Yeah.
ancient systems we're talking about here. They, as I've said 100 times, they don't make the parts anymore. We're just
Yeah, I
somehow
just-
making it work.
I just was wondering if there's a way we could move it up into the list, just because I'd rather be proactive about it than reactive to that type of situation.
Dan and I have been pursuing, we're not ready to present on it, obviously, but we've been pursuing some different options, much like they did with the Honeywell project in town. We're not ruling out Honeywell, but we're looking at a bunch of different companies to give us a price for a wide scope of these projects, and with that they'd be able to tell us what those projected energy savings would be
Right.
long-term. So we've been working on that, and I think that's our next step, is to come
Okay.
forward with that.
Okay, and I think that's on us too to decide when we need to, because we're gonna have to elevate that, so, I mean, maybe we think about it when when we're meeting with the select board to let them know this is coming. I think it's one thing that it's on our capital plan, but, we need to start advocating and pushing for it if it's something that we think is a huge priority.
Because it's expensive, so I can see
It
why
is.
it keeps getting pushed down.
Oh,
from
yeah, but it's
1.2.
never gonna be able to be funded straight
Right.
from our capital.
Right.
No matter how much money we get, the town's gonna have to do a specific vote on it, and there'll be steps for it, so, we'll have to be the ones who are gonna raise it. It's not gonna be, somebody's gonna look at our plan and be like, okay,
Is there a way, I don't know enough about it, but is there a way to do it where it can be done in parts over a couple of
Yes.
years?
Yep.
All right.
We're broken into 11 different sections. We have 11 big, giant units. So we would pick 3 and have a new system. That system would take a third of the building, say.
Okay.
And eventually, once you have the whole building complete, they're all interconnected. Right now, we can't share, there's no
Right.
sharing of heat. If a unit goes down in a particular section of the building, we're just done with heating in that section. We'll keep an eye out, and we always do, for any grants that might come up. Usually, like we went through a couple of years ago, they're around doors, windows, occasionally roofing, and we've got a bunch of roofing
Right.
projects going on. I haven't seen any that I know of since I've been a superintendent focused on heating and ventilation systems. But if we had a magic wand and waved it, our next big issue is around roofing.
Okay.
after the heating or before the heating?
I think after. I can check with Tony, but our biggest roofing issue was at North Street over the
Yeah.
library. We addressed that. Yeah, the one that keeps me up at night is definitely middle school heating.
I wonder if it would be worth adjusting the priority then and doing a third next year, bumping some of these items down. and saying, we're gonna commit to doing a third every year, so that's gonna take 40,000, if I did my math right, which I probably didn't, out of the capital each year. But I assume that once you start, you have to keep going. You can't just do one and leave it.
It'd be 400.
I would think so, yeah.
400,000, sorry.
Right, and we only get about half
So
of
we wouldn't
that.
be able to get anything then.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the tough part.
40 sounds
Seems
great.
simple in my head.
No, I like that thinking.
Math
no.
is hard. Yeah.
That is a good thought, though.
No, it is a good thought, but that actually speaks to the fundamental problem. We can do a
Right.
chunk of it, but then there is literally zero for anything else, which is tough.
I agree with Laura. I think we should bring that to the attention of the
Yeah.
Finance Committee and the Select Board.
Yeah,
when
we
meet.
can, I know that's not our primary, but we can add it as just as a heads up and, just raise the issue. One of my things I've been thinking about, which I'll get to when we talk about MASC, is that I do think we talk a lot in a vacuum here, so we can do better and about kind of, I think everybody tunes in, but I mean, I don't get to watch every meeting that goes on in town either, so to try to help educate everybody. Any other questions on our capital plan? I'll also reach out to Jen about the CIPC subcommittee. I didn't have it on our agenda, so next time we can appoint somebody from this committee to be on that. But if you're interested, feel free to let me know. And that's when you really, if you really love capital, that's a good place to be. And who doesn't? Do we have any other questions? And this is online, right? You mentioned that?
Yep.
So if anybody is watching, you can visit our website and view
I'll move
our.
it to it is on there. I'll move it to the front page just so it's there.
That'd be great. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Okay. Superintendent goals.
Yes, so I've got a first draft. Don't need to vote or anything tonight, but just a very first draft of 3 goals for the current year. They include communication around the budget, focus on student services, and focus on student needs. You'll see under each of them, I've got key actions and then benchmarks. I'll be happy to, you want me to run through each? Or just give feedback? What would you like?
I think if you could run through each,
Okay.
it'd be great. Just the highlights, you can
Sure.
just maybe do the goal. You don't have to do your.
Yep, so the first goal is improve communication of the school department budgetary needs for FY21 and beyond. That's introduced the new budgetary timeline. We're working to utilize a cable access show to highlight the school department's strengths and needs, resetting the capital plan, and conduct an ADA self-assessment for all schools, incorporate those findings into our capital requests, and increase stakeholder understanding of the budgetary needs and funding realities. So that was goal 1, and then I've got benchmarks under it. The second goal around student learning, increasing the coordination and the effectiveness of student services. Continue our work around the paraprofessional shift with ongoing support and professional development. Assess and enhance the co-teaching model district-wide. Continue to strengthen specialized programming throughout the district with particular focus on transitions between grade levels and schools. And finally, pilot a senior internship program within the Grafton community. And then goal number 3, again, that student learning goal, focused on strengthening our collective ability to meet the needs of all students, introduce and utilize a data system to provide educators with timely key data related to student success, work with human resources and the GTA to streamline the evaluation system, partner with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services to strengthen our ability to meet student and family needs and provide needed wraparound services, implement a vaping initiative, and assess equity within the Grafton Public Schools and take action as needed.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Of course.
Streamlining evaluation system, the evaluation system of what?
That was my question.
Of our educators, so
Okay.
teachers and staff. Right now, we 100% follow the state model. Not looking, we still want to make sure we're doing everything we need to do. I think we could be more efficient with, right now, we do an awful lot around evaluation. I think we could probably streamline that a little bit and maybe not have quite as many write-ups, walkthroughs, a lot of paper moving around. And again, we check off all the boxes and then some, but we're short administratively, and we just are. So can we streamline that and make it even more effective? That's the goal.
And this is where an ELA coordinator or a humanities coordinator and a STEM coordinator, is that part of what they would be able to do?
It could. It depends on how you set it up. In many districts, that coordinator might do evaluations. Without a doubt, that coordinator is going to be doing work helping with curriculum-based initiatives that free up the assistant principal and the principal. But right now, they're trying to help Tracy do all of that, keep the kids and staff sane, and do all the evaluations and do them well. That's tough. So
No, this
it
is
would
off-
definitely help.
Sorry, I know it's off topic, but do the department heads do any evaluation?
not.
Okay.
No, they get, right now, I mean, we're thrilled to have that position, but it's as bare bones a
Minimum.
position.
Yep.
They have one extra block off. And right now, they're not able to do any kind of supervision or evaluation.
Quick question about vaping. I know the high school and the middle school, high school health students are working with middle schoolers and teaching, and I think that's fantastic, and it seems to be successful.
Yeah.
Because I think kids learn best from other kids. Is there any move toward taking it down to North Street and Millbury Street to do the sixth graders before they move up?
As far as I know, the answer is no at this point. I can certainly bring that up. We have our second meeting coming up. We've already made, I feel like we're doing a ton just in the last
Right.
month. But that's a perfect thing to ask about.
Well, I
Sure.
wonder if it's in the DARE curriculum, because I know sixth graders traditionally have done DARE.
Yeah.
They're doing that this year, if there's something that can kind of
Yeah, it
dovetail
would be
into
neat
that.
if the middle school kids
Yes.
could,
Yeah.
do the same thing that the high school kids did with them. They do it with, say, fifth and sixth. They're, at the middle school, they're working on a fairly large social norming campaign.
Okay.
And those kids, I'm sure, would love to do that. So
That's
it's a
great.
great idea.
Cool.
I have one more question, just about the equity assessment. Could we see what that looks like?
Yeah, once I figure it out, absolutely.
Okay.
I was hoping to do it through a collaborative. They're offering that as one of the services. So I thought that would be a pretty easy one. The cost is upwards, like over 30,000. So that's great. I mean, dead in the water there. So we're gonna kind of regroup and see what we can kind of figure out. So it's something we definitely need to do and want to do. It's a matter of how we can do it in a cost-effective way.
Okay.
We did find a way, right now we're self-assessing with ADA across the district. We just didn't, it's a small fortune to have somebody come in and assess. So we've kind of figured out a plan. I'm going to bring those results to you. Once we have them, we may find that despite our best efforts, we still need to go outside to do pieces of it. I don't know, but right now it's going pretty well. It took a lot of work, but we're able to do it on a budget internally. So we may go that same route.
And can you remind me, Jay, whom or what, when you say equity assessment, for whom, about whom, where, like, what is that?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've told us, but I don't remember what that
No,
means.
we really haven't defined it yet. We certainly look at gender, special needs, anyone in the district, staff or student. We would be looking to see if our treatment of everyone is equitable.
So from, sorry.
It's okay.
So from my lens, it would be, are all students getting access to the same rigorous curriculum and materials, regardless of gender, so on and so forth. So that's from my lens, what equity looks like.
Socioeconomic, as you asked Tim about the
Right.
field trip.
Right.
Do we have structures in place that
Okay.
that ensures that happens? When Tim called, one of the first things we talked about was we don't want just the kids who have gone to Disney a million times and they've got $500 sitting on the counter and can go. But ideally, as a district, it shouldn't depend on myself or Tim and just happening to think of that. And you catch it at a meeting, we should have structures in place that's like automated. Tracy's done a ton of work over the past few years with boys in mind, how we teach to boys, how we teach to girls. So it could be super encompassing, and I'm guessing the group that's charging 35,000, it is all encompassing. Doing it internally, I don't know how broad we can make it, but that's the idea.
Yeah, there's been so much, on, for instance, NPR about not just explicit bias, but implicit bias.
Yeah,
and
yes, it's huge.
It's hard, it's often hard to even know
Yeah,
what you're doing.
right, right. And I'd like to think we've all checked ourselves, but as a district, we haven't that I'm aware of. And I'm gonna step back and see how we do business and
Yeah.
make changes as needed. I think that's a good thing.
Right.
I wish it didn't cost 35,000.
I wish we had a situation where 35,000
Or
didn't
that.
seem like that.
Right. Yes. So if you think of any feedback, obviously between now and the next meeting, if you provide that, I can add, I can delete, add benchmarks, whatever you think is appropriate, and I'll bring the finalized version back for a vote at the next meeting.
Jay, you might be helpful to add timeline, like that equity, that might not be one that you're able to do by June. So it might be
Okay.
helpful to add in some benchmarks with the time.
I just have one thought about, the school committee approved budget by January 20th, I don't know what happens, like if we approve the budget and then the request does not get fulfilled.
We
Does
can
that-
always vote again.
Does that blow that goal out of the water?
No.
No, it's,
I mean,
we
We evaluate him based on his goals, so
Right.
we would know. I mean, and we're gonna have to have an approved budget sometime in that timeline.
No, I know.
Yeah. And as our old colleague Peter was fond of saying, we can always re-vote on the budget. But
Yeah.
that's a good question. Great. Any other questions or thoughts? You can certainly send them over to Jay later on. We are passing over the budget,
Yep.
right? We're gonna pass over the FY21 budget right now, and then Jay is gonna present on the collaborative report.
Yep, just real quick, I included on pages 13 and 14, the latest Aspet Valley Collaborative quarterly report. Both collaboratives, SWEC and AVC, we're doing great with both. The vote, it's my fault, but we're remiss in that at the beginning of the year, annually, we're supposed to vote to, or the school committee's supposed to vote to approve me as superintendent as a voting representative for the school district as part of both the Aspet Valley Collaborative and the Southern Worcester Educational Collaborative Board of Directors. So I'm asking that you consider that tonight.
Do you wanna give an overview maybe quickly of what those are, just for
The two collaboratives?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
the new folks?
Yep. So we belong to two local collaboratives. I serve as superintendent on the board of directors of both of those, made up of entirely superintendents. I am the chair of the Aspet Valley Collaborative. Both collaboratives are made up of 12 to 14 local towns. Millbury and Auburn join us, being in both. We contribute a few $1,000s every year to participate in both. We receive a significant discount on any of our students participating in their collaborative offerings. So they'll offer programs that are more intensive in nature than your typical public school offering, but usually more local and less intensive than a true out-of-district placement, if you will. So day programs. They offer a wide range of professional development opportunities. Myself, Dan, Tracy, Kristen Gasper is the Human Resource Director, and Neil Trahan is Director of Technology, all participate in basically job-alike groups that meet on a regular basis, so you can get together with Aspet Valley Collaborative, talk curriculum, talk whatever they talk about. And Dan will do the same, Neil will, and obviously I do that after the Board of Director meetings. So they're a great resource for all of us. Yeah, any questions about the collaboratives?
me to make a motion?
Yeah.
All right, I make a motion to designate Superintendent Cummings as the voting representative for the Grafton Public Schools for both the Aspet Valley Collaborative and the Southern Worcester Education Collaborative for 2019, 2020.
Second.
Motion made seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Jay. Were you worried? If you'd worn a
I still
costume,
have to go, but I couldn't vote.
that is terrible. School committee member reports. Anybody? Amy?
Me again. So last week I was very happy to represent, well, myself and this committee at the MASC conference in Hyannis. It was enjoyable. There were a lot of really intense sessions. I went to one on policy and I learned that we were doing everything right. So yay, policy subcommittee. In regularly reviewing our policies, we are doing very well. Some districts are not so lucky. I learned the difference between policy and procedure and things that I can keep my nose out of. So that's great. I also went to a really good session on social media with Tracy, our field rep, who's going to come here and do that for us again. That was probably my favorite session of the weekend. It was the last session of the weekend. I did come back from the conference to go to Screenagers 2 at Grafton High School. It was fairly well attended, I guess. I was a little disappointed because we do have like 1,000 high school and middle school kids, and there were maybe 70 people there. But the movie itself was very well done. I like the way that there was something in it for parents and there was still something in it for the kids. So I brought my own kids, which is why I came all the way back from Hyannis, because I knew if I didn't go, they weren't going to go either. They actually did get a lot out of it, and it was very well done. You don't need to see the first one for the second one to make sense. So my little one hadn't seen the first one. My older one had. But it basically talks about the impact of technology and social media on mental health, and how too much of living in that world, that online world, is making our kids unable to cope in the real world. And it kind of makes sense. If you walk around staring at your phone all the time and you're not looking anybody in the eye ever, you forget how to look people in the eye, how to shake hands, how to problem solve. And it was all about that. So it was very well done. Thank you to the middle school and the high school for partnering on that and bringing that to town. I hope we can do it again, maybe next fall, and do a real push again to get more families to come out. It was well worth the time, and it was worth the drive back. And I just wanted to say that tomorrow is World Kindness Day, so wear your favorite cardigan for Mr. Rogers. I'm wearing mine tonight because it's tonight. Millbury Street School is observing this, so hi Millbury Street School, and good job.
Jen? Well, I also went to MASC last week. I did not drive back for Screenagers. I stayed and networked. I went to some really interesting sessions as well. I focused, can sometimes do a track, and I really kind of honed in a lot on the communicating your budget out to stakeholders, to the community, which is something I think we're going to need this year especially. So I have some ideas about that. I also did just an update on Chapter 70, because I can hear that over and over, and I do, and I still have more to learn, but I wasn't alone in that. And my final one that I went to was learning how chairs and superintendents can work better with our municipality. So have already reached out to the select board chair, Mrs. Thomas, about how we can maybe collaborate a little bit better with them. We're already kind of seeing, as we were there, kind of live, real time, booking meetings and trying to maybe get together more, just the chairs and Tim and Jay all in the same room, so we can kind of get some of these hot button items talked about well in advance. And I know Jay and Tim meet regularly as well, but the more we can do, I think the better. It's a great conference. I feel very lucky that I got to go. It's also really great to meet other school committee members across the state and other superintendents and talk to them about their challenges as well. it's a lot. I said to Mr. Falth, and I'll be completely honest, a lot of times I leave, they're really fired up and energized and excited. And this time I left, and I maybe I'm feeling the weight of what we have ahead of us this year, but it was heavier this time. Like, there was a lot of just, everybody's kind of facing the same thing. And even the Promise Act, I thought would be a lot more rah-rah, but everybody's kind of feeling, unless you're a big city, that it isn't going to help. I mean, it's the Student Opportunity Act. I don't know why that has switched in my mind. But, so I left a little feeling not as excited as I normally do, but excited to work and roll up my sleeves, of course.
What was the, like the Bill Daggett, what was the main
Oh
presentation?
my gosh, that was like he was great speaker. I can't remember his name offhand. Do you remember the Thursday one? Norman. Look it up. He's a wonderful, he's all about politics, which I love. I love politics. And I thought it was going to be about politics and policy, which I also love policy. So I was ready. And it wasn't as packed as normal, so we weren't as packed. I had 2 open seats next to me, so I was really ready. And it was really not, it was depressed. I mean, he really was talking a lot about what's going on politically in the world and that it might continue on. I don't want to get.
It's going to get worse before it gets
It's going to
better.
get worse
That was the
before it gets
takeaway.
better. And I was like, whoa. Usually I leave that feeling, and that kind of, so that was an interesting one. I didn't get to go. I know Amy went on Friday. I didn't get to go on Friday. But it was an interesting, and I didn't mean to get negative, but it was definitely
had a
worth
different
going and learning. But a lot's going on in education right now, and people were very honest and sharing, and it was nice to know, and I made some great connections, and it's always good to be able to reach out for help. And that was kind of, I think, the message we were all giving each other was we're all doing this over and over again in different towns across the state. Why aren't we helping each other more, and why isn't MASC kind of giving us more to work with? And there's a lot of great, and I love, I went to one on public speaking, which was great. And they talked a lot about, actually, this is a good one too, because everybody there was yeah, I'm very comfortable. I could give a presentation and no problem. But if people come, and some of you have seen me, when people come, you get a little you're not as relaxed as you would like to be when people come if they're upset or they come. And one of her tidbits was, before you walk into a meeting, you just say, "You all love me. You all love me." So if anybody ever comes, I'm just going to be "I know you're here because you love us." And it was just a funny kind of an icebreaker. But it is, it can be a challenge when you're in and you're making difficult decisions, as we're about to have to make, and people are going to come and they're going to be upset, and they come and they're looking at you. And, one of the, of course, and I think Jen knows this well, one of the big takeaways always is it's not you, it's the position, of course, but I struggle with that because I am sensitive. So there was very interesting things, and I was very glad to go. And I talked way too much more about what I did at MASC than I meant to, but
Thank you.
it was good to go. And I was glad to get to spend some time with Amy as well.
Oh, that was fun. And Maureen.
And Maureen,
Good to see
yep,
her
and
again.
Mr. Polanski, and lots of other superintendents and school
Very
committee
smart man.
members.
Just wrote a book. So
Yeah, he was great. I think it was just the setting for me. He did a great job.
I would have preferred almost a panel with him on it, although I think he would have gotten all the questions.
Yeah.
He's a very smart man. His name is Norman Ornstein. He's a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. He's contributing editor for The Atlantic, and he's just finished his 3rd book about the state of our nation and politics, and kind of how didn't we see this coming. And I started following him on Twitter. He's extremely insightful and really scary. One of the questions, the session was how do we create educational policy in this landscape of uncertainty and the national political scene. And somebody asked the question, how do you make policy in a world where facts don't matter anymore?
Right.
Where it's just what your perception is truth now, and that's just the way we're moving forward as a nation. And and he didn't have an answer to that question, and I was just kind of oh, great.
Though,
doesn't know.
what struck me, and I'm glad you shared that, is maybe the most important thing is not that sounds like it was kind of depressing, as so many of these things are now, but this is the atmosphere, especially maybe 8th grade and up. It's what they live in. It strikes me a little like, you know, how they say people felt when they were living under the threat of the atom bomb, right? Like your everyday was, I don't know what's going on. And maybe that's when we think about our students being stressed out or unhappy or depressed or whatever, it's because every day is like that.
Yeah,
Because they're always on Twitter and they're always getting news and they're very, that's their reality.
And especially when they're using current events in the classroom, which I fully support, and I think that's so important for them to start to understand the world that they're living in.
Right.
Um,
I mean, it's
but
not
it
that
can
they
be heady
shouldn't,
stuff.
just understanding that they do, and that's
Right.
what they're immersed in,
Well,
so no wonder.
And it's so different than what we went through. Like, we had current events, but you had a newspaper and you had 3 stations, and that was it. And it wasn't.
already curated.
It
by
wasn't
the
coming
time
at you
Yes.
24/7, and there's so much opinion-based news versus news. Everybody thinks just if they have a blog, they're a journalist, as opposed to that's your opinion and it's online.
Yeah.
That's not. Everybody
not
has an
news.
opinion. It doesn't mean it's right, right? But
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that we've already made these changes, and I say we, I mean the district, not
Right.
me, part of it, but the changes that we've made to the social studies curriculum to teach kids, you know, how to evaluate a source, how to think critically about what you're reading, where is it from, who wrote it, in what context. I see it so much, I see it in my 6th grader, and I see it with my 10th grader, and I think it's fantastic. I think we really need it, and we need civics in the 8th grade, which is right where we have it, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the fruits of that as those kids get older and go to high school and graduate. I think we're doing all the right things.
we need civics, and I know you went to a session on it, but we also need social emotional learning.
Yes, we do.
And having the skills to be able to process and understand and think it through. That's why SEL is so important.
Yep.
I cut you off, Heather.
I was just going to say there are positives too, though, from it opening up, and we have much more, or many more diverse voices, you know, coming to us. Getting already curated news back in the 80s was, you know, a white guy telling you the story. So we definitely have more diverse voices, and there can definitely be a good thing if we can sort through what is fact and what is not.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Much less depressing to look at it
Yeah,
that way.
I got to make it a little
I
positive
love
because they're bringing
that.
me down here.
That is what I
Said
needed.
that in our session.
No, that is very good. It was a great, and all in all, like, I'm always grateful to go, and it was a and I really did come with some wonderful takeaways that Jay is going to be so thrilled.
He looks at.
And
Oh, I did go also to the session on evaluating your superintendent. Just
oh, did they go over the new evaluation?
Oh, is there a new one? All right.
We went to that together.
it
Yeah.
wasn't that great.
Okay, yeah,
Should have been a morning session. It was an afternoon session.
that's tough.
Yeah.
But good. Okay. Anything else? Sorry, we went on a little bit, but that was good. Nice to chat. Superintendent's report.
Just a few quick things. As you know, our mosquito restrictions were lifted. It was wonderful. I wanted to thank.
When I was at Friday night's football game, I wasn't so sure I was happy about that.
Can we have warmer temperatures for football now?
We got the football.
Right.
I did want to thank Jim Scanlon, our athletic director.
much work.
So much work goes into scheduling all of the activities, never mind once you can't go into the evenings. So he did just a really great job with it. So thanks to Jim. The GHS drama department is putting on 13 Past Midnight. It's held on Friday the 22nd, then the 23rd, and the 24th. I had the chance to, or the opportunity to go see Lizzie Tortenson. She's a junior with us. She did a presentation on e-waste. I think it was last Thursday. It was at the high school in the auditorium, which is not an easy place to speak. It's a real challenge, but she made it look easy, did a fantastic job. She was saying that she presented at some conference and anyhow spoke directly to the governor and went over the whole thing. It was awesome. Really impressive young lady. And last but not least, we've got a big coat drive going on. We've combined forces with Representative Meridian. We're collecting any coats that you may have at the high school through November 24th. And that's done in partnership with Representative Meridian and our student council. And that's all.
Great. Okay. Future agenda planning.
So at the next meeting we have, we've got Bob Wall will do a special education report. You can either give me information tonight in terms of what you guys want from that report, or over the next week or so, so that I know I can work with him to really prepare to present the information that you'd like. We've got NESDEC coming out, representative we're hoping to have here to speak to the report that they're putting together around projected enrollment in the future. If we do the student wellness, I don't know if you want to still keep that on there, but if you want to, we've got updates around safety and security, obviously the efforts we've been taking around vaping, and I was also thinking of counseling, especially at the 7-12 level, where we've made some nice, really nice growth in that area.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd like that.
so we'll do that.
If we could, did we get the results yet from the survey that they take in the beginning of the year from the Worcester Health Alliance?
No, we tried to actually we did contact them after that last vaping summit. We asked if it was at all possible for them to isolate the however many questions there were on vaping and just get that data early. I can come back with the exact time, but I think it was late December or even January.
And then another thing I was wondering about, one point, we can kind of tie back to the strategic plan.
Mhm.
And you used to kind of update us every now and then of where we stood, or
Mhm.
maybe some sort of update
Yep.
at one point.
That,
Is that,
I
it
think the
used to be built
reason
in.
in
Yeah,
the blue,
it's
I think
built in.
that was, that is connected.
Oh, that's
So-
in there, oh, okay.
So we will. I don't remember to what degree vaping was on there, but
Right.
we'll hit the things I talked about, and if there's more to add, we can certainly do that.
At some point, Tracy, and I wasn't at one meeting, I might have missed it, but you had updated us when, at one point about the new MCAS. But then it would be interesting to know, like, what's your opinion of how we're doing? What does it mean? What do the scores mean? Because it didn't look as though we did as well as previously, potentially, just to help us and anybody else to understand what the implications.
Happy to do that.
Okay, anything else? All right, and approval of minutes. We
I
have
did
one.
have one change.
Okay,
I wrote it down.
okay.
It's page 3, number 5. The second to last sentence refers to the bylaws committee. I just wanted to insert CIPC into that, so it's clear which bylaws we're talking about. It's the CIPC bylaw committee.
Are we talking about the October 22nd?
I believe so.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah,
All right.
just so, 50 years from now, we know what we were talking about. No one will care.
Well, and I guess if we're making edits, I would just make a quick edit to the PTG. It's actually PTO itself, right? It's a
Yes.
parent-teacher organization, but no big thing.
Wait, where is that?
Number 6.
Top of 6.
Missed it.
I will let Debney know of her errors.
No. I'll let Debney know.
Tonight?
No.
Debney.
Thank you, Debney.
Miss you.
All right, can I make a motion to,
I make a motion to
amended.
accept the meetings October 22nd, 2019 with the amendments.
I second it.
motion made and seconded? Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, and we have a warrant. Just on your desk. I think that's payroll.
Oh,
Yeah,
it?
you can have mine.
Oh, I don't have that. Oh, that is paid.
Glad it was delivered
Warrant
safely,
number
too.
19. I move to accept warrant number 19 dated 11/7/2019 in the amount of $432,968.97.
I second it.
All right, motion made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, motion carries 5-0. We are skipping over the facility rental rates as well as we don't have any policy tonight. I received no correspondence, and we do need to go into executive session. So may I have a motion for that?
I make a motion to move to go into executive session under Massachusetts General Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to conduct strategy sessions in the preparations for negotiations with union personnel and to reconvene an open session only for the purpose of adjournment.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. We need to go into a roll call vote. So I will start.
Melissa Maison, aye.
Heather Riley, aye.
Amy Marr, aye.
Jennifer Connolly, aye.
Laura Often, aye. Motion carries. As we will reconvene in open session only to adjourn. So thank you, Grafton. Good night and happy Thanksgiving.